We're live.
We are.
We are live.
G'day, we're live. Hello to everyone watching now and in the future. That's amazing you can talk to people in the future.
Yeah.
Well, after the complete success that was yesterday's lunchtime live, I thought we'd go again.
Yeah.
And thankfully today we're not talking about a topic that I've just been rambling on about in a 2 minutes tops. We're talking about something that someone else is rambling about. Oh, no. What can I say? Yeah. Okay. So today we're talking about driverless cars and trucks.
Trucks, really, isn't it?
Well, it's all going to end up as driverless cars, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Ivecos. That's what we're talking about today.
Echoes.
Ivecos.
Oh, I have echoes.
Yeah.
I've got echoes when I hear things twice.
Iveco.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's have a look at this thing here. All right, autonomous trucks deployed. Now, it turns out this article came out yesterday, and then there was another article come out, about half an hour ago or something? 2 hours ago?
A couple of hours ago, yeah.
That says now they've pulled this because of not enough community in consultation or something.
Public consultation.
That's right, public consultation.
And the move would leave freight routes chaotic.
Oh, I don't know why, but anyway.
Yeah.
So the point of this was that the Melbourne highways, they've got trucks on them. There is still a driver in there, but they're doing the autonomy thing with, doing whatever.
And they're doing it at night from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m.
Yeah, because no one's on the road that time.
No.
No.
That way they don't kill anyone.
Yeah, well, no one that they consider worthwhile. Anyway, obviously, if you're not in bed by 10, it's your problem. So, but the point was not this and not if it's good or whatever. We're not really talking about this, but it got me thinking, which I often sometimes do, rarely.
Now and again.
Yeah. Every second Friday for like 5 minutes. Yeah. What is it going to do for property prices, okay? This is the thing. So what's it going to do for property prices? And not just driverless trucks, but actual driverless cars. So let's stop that one so the good people can see us a bit better. So, okay. Well, will it do anything? Should we take a vote?
Should we take a vote?
Take a vote.
What do you mean by that? Will it do anything?
Will property prices go up with driverless trucks and cars, or will they go down with driverless trucks and cars?
Can I go Switzerland on this and say that it's going to, the prices are going to go up in certain areas and they're going to decrease in other areas?
You can't do that because that was my answer. All right, what's your answer, Lyle?
I don't think it's going to matter.
Oh, wow. The guy that sits there with no answer is now controversial.
Yeah.
So
controversial?
The underdog.
No, I honestly don't think that driverless cars or trucks will affect the market.
Yeah, okay. All right. So my thoughts are that it will. And I think it will have, like any new service or zoning or whatever, it affects the areas that can benefit from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a driverless, is it that much different to have a driverless car if you're living, 3 Ks to the CBD? You just catch an Uber now, it's kind of like a driverless car, right?
Yeah.
You're already there.
Yeah.
But say I'm pretty much 100 Ks from the CBD.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a massive effect for me on a driverless vehicle, besides the fact that I like driving and that's how I choose to do it. But in traffic, right, there's no fun in driving.
No.
So, if I had the driverless vehicle or a driver, right, and I'm not going to pay for an Uber, then I could get work done in that time, which then, therefore, I'm not losing that downtime of travel.
Well, it's a bit like being on a train, right?
That's right.
Yeah, or a bus.
Except private, right? Because trains are just filled with other people.
Yeah, but you can still get work done, right? So you can.
Well, it depends. If you're in the quiet section of the
Depends how
train.
you like to work.
Depends what time of the day it is.
It depends, after 10 and before 5.
I don't think there's work done there.
No.
Yeah.
So the point is that, if you can jump in a driverless vehicle and head off,
sure,
then that can make the properties further out more appealing, because it used to be the realm of like the high flyers, right?
Yeah.
You think about old Joe Bjelke-Petersen in Queensland, Premier.
Mhm.
You know, he had the airport redone in Kingaroy and all that sort of stuff, so he could fly the jet. You know, there's no way he can drive from Kingaroy to go to work for the day and back,
No,
right?
no.
But they can fly. And so this is essentially making flying, which is the next step after driverless cars, I guess.
Yeah.
Not saying flying cars, but, you know,
Yeah.
drones sort of stuff, is the next step, right? And that's what it's going to go.
Yep. Yeah. But I suppose it's coming down to like a bit like a chauffeur, really.
Well, it is.
So if anyone who's kind of in that elite area that has a chauffeur, you know, in their stretch Hummer or whatever they're in, they can, if they choose to, work on the way to wherever they're going because someone else is driving the car. That's not so affordable for the average person.
No.
But so I suppose this driverless car / truck thing is becoming a thing where, yes, you are going to have now the amount of time it takes you to be in that car to fill your time with something else.
With interest rates rising, were you upset when you had to get rid of your chauffeur?
No, I didn't like him anyway.
Yeah.
So it was easy. It was an easy decision.
It's also going to free up car spaces. That's a big thing within the city.
Well, this is the
That's
point.
right,
Like,
which is
okay,
gonna, which
but
I
why?
would drive up.
What happened to the car?
Well, there'll be people that are, like you just said, getting driven to places and dropped off. And
Okay, so say I owned a car that was driverless. Then where's my car going to go and drops me off?
well, I think we were talking about the bigger picture, like automation.
Oh,
automation
that's the
of
next
driving.
step, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So what about
like
the
like a driverless Uber,
That's right.
right? As opposed to a
That's the next
driverless
step.
your own.
Well, that's where Uber always was going to go. And they
Yeah,
made that clear
yeah.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Which I would assume would bring up property prices in the inner city area because there's more park spaces.
Well,
and there's
like-
more access to that.
Well, it makes them nicer, I guess.
Yeah. See, the Lord Mayor of Sydney, what's her name? Clover Moore. She took out all the parking in Sydney CBD to put bike paths in for people to cycle. Now, some people have, you know, everyone has a different opinion on that. But I used to work with Channel 9. To go into the city was a regular occurrence, might be 2 or 3 times a day. And you could never find a park. So therefore, you would avoid it whenever you could because there were no parks. So it will affect it in that way. And so if you take away parks out of a major city or whatever it is, yes, but there are still going to be people driving their own vehicle to,
If there's more
in this
automation.
case, Sydney. If there's more automation, yes, there'll be less cars, but then what happens is they generally in those areas will say, well, hang on a minute, because we've got 50% increase in automated cars, we don't need 50% of the car parks. We'll just take them out and put whatever it is that they want to put in there. So that will change the dynamic, especially of a city.
What about this? We've got someone saying it'll affect property prices in areas where driverless cars are prohibited. So let's think about that. So I'm assuming by effect, we're meaning that the prices will go down in areas where driverless cars are prohibited. Let's just say that's the assumption.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of things there. Firstly, I'm assuming they're meaning go down, which is probably right. I'm assuming that. I could be wrong. But why would they be prohibited?
Well, I think initially, like for instance, now we've got these trucks, right? And they're in Melbourne, going from Dandenong, was it?
Well, it's okay if they stay in Melbourne. They're nowhere near me.
Yeah, that's good. They stay there. But the thing is, right, that's they're allowing that stretch of road for testing these trucks, which probably weigh 30 tonne or whatever. So they're 30 tonne going down the road without any human control. Well, they do have human control, but eventually they won't. So I think what this guy's saying here, or lady, is saying that there will be areas where they're prohibited. But I think in the long term, there won't be an area where they're prohibited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it comes back down to, like, if you have a look at the Lime scooters that are prohibited in certain areas, it's like a similar.
So the scooters are prohibited?
Hey, there's certain cities and areas that you're not allowed to use electric
Yeah, electric
scooters
scooter,
and
the
electric
high
bikes.
ones.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right,
So
okay.
is it a similar concept?
I don't know, maybe.
Well, it'll probably be state by state, but I think, scooters in New South Wales have very different rules to other states. So,
Should we, what about, okay, so let's, because we don't want to keep people bored on this, we kind of go around in circles, because we don't know, but we think it will affect, right? I think like the general consensus, apart from Lyle, is that depending whether they got access to driverless cars or not, it will depend on what the property prices will do, because a lot of the times the gains for those services always end up in the land, right? This is just how it goes. So if I go here. Okay, so we're going to play. Should we play that? What's that? ANZ, ABC. Thing?
ABC. Let's go ABC.
ABC, please.
Now we're going back to Brisbane here, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, this is to do with the Olympics.
Well, I think that's in Brisbane.
Well, we don't know yet, do we?
Do we?
Is it actually going to happen?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question.
All right.
Will we have the power to power the Olympics?
Okay, so let's have a look here.
Autonomous air taxis could soon be gliding across Brisbane's skyline in a bold move aimed at improving transport for the 2032 Olympic Games. A prototype of the pilotless air taxis was unveiled in the city centre. The planes fly lower than aeroplanes but higher than small drones. They would be privately funded, with councils providing the landing space.
These aircraft will operate from what we call vertiports. So they'll lift off and land vertically from these locations. They'll be similar to the helipads that we know today, but they'll also need electrification.
I've already volunteered to be the first passenger.
The Civil Aviation Safety Authority still needs to approve it for travel.
All right, well, there we go.
There we go.
All right.
Fly to the Olympics.
Hey, how fantastic that is.
Yeah.
So what's that, 2032? So 8 years. I don't know. I mean, a lot happens in technology in 8 years.
Does.
But I think they've got a lot of hoops to jump through to get that approved.
I think so.
But that sort of concept is the next concept. So we've gone from
Yeah.
Ubers to driverless cars to driverless Ubers, and now we're going to
Trucks as well in the middle
and
of that.
trucks, and then now we've gone to, in terms of personal transport,
Yeah.
wheelless.
It's like the Jetsons.
Wheelless.
Wheelless.
I think they've got wheels.
Okay, well, they don't use them very often.
No, they don't roll much, but they're probably more for landing.
So driverless drones.
Driverless drones.
In that regard,
Would you hop in a driverless drone?
Oh, unlike the Lord Mayor, I wouldn't be the first passenger.
I certainly wouldn't want to be the first. Like if one turned up out here right now,
Yeah.
would you? And they said, "Hey, free ride, just to experience it." Would you jump in it?
See, I'm the type of person, I like knowing how even the remote control works, right? Batteries, infrared, and does it work, doesn't work, you know? So
is your long answer no?
My long answer is I would really need to look into it. And if it had power to stop, and does it auto rotate on the way down? Like, how does that work? I don't know. So my immediate answer is no.
Does it return to base like a drone? If the battery's low,
I've got two friends that bought drones, sent them out, and they did not return to base.
Oh.
So I don't know about that
Might
one.
be the user.
That's a problem. But okay, let's say they worked, and let's say they worked well.
Sure. Yeah.
Would I
Yeah.
go out, because we got some land, I'd go out there, call the drone. Oh, no, you'd have to use this, right?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Pink
Probably
phone.
whistling from
And-
to do it.
And down it comes, and I can jump in and go to Brisbane. So I don't know, they'd fly at whatever, that 130 k's an hour, 150, whatever it might be. Either way, it's a straight line with no traffic.
Sure.
So instead of an hour and a half, my drive to
And you
Brisbane,
can work on the way.
well, if I can fit in them, by the looks of it. Let's just say I get there in 30 minutes. Let's say at a third of the time, it'd probably be less than that, whatever.
Yeah.
And door to door, that's a substantial time saving.
Yeah.
That then, what does that do to my property value? Now, instead of an hour and a half to Brisbane CBD,
Sure.
I'm 30 minutes to Brisbane CBD,
Sure.
and I can work along the way. Well, why, unless you really wanted to live in the CBD, would you live close to there and all the suburbs? Why wouldn't you live further out and have your own cow, right? Or goat, or whatever it might be?
I hear you're getting a couple of goats.
I don't know. But that changes that, right? That changes all that sort of stuff, because it makes that all of a sudden more able to be lived in.
I suppose the accessibility of it's there, but what about the cost?
Well, I'm thinking, so if you're out in a rural area and these things maybe potentially need to be charged at a certain point, will the rural areas have the ability to do that? So accessibility will predominantly be in the CBD areas until they do that.
True,
and the expense for that would be quite expensive.
Well, no, you can put those big windmills out in rural, and if it doesn't work, they've got plenty of wood to burn and stuff. So.
I'm just seeing it'll be a quicker growth for the CBD area.
Well, because it's smaller trips.
You're right, Anna, because at the moment, a electric vehicle, like let's just say a Tesla, for instance, is really only good around the city. you know, you can't have those longer drives in an electric vehicle unless, of course, you're happy to wait to charge the thing and all the rest of it. So I think you do have a valid point there. These drone, well, whether they're powered by electric or petrol, I don't know.
No, they'll be electric. And the thing is that
if they are electric, then I suppose we fall into the category of the battery, whether how long it needs to be charged for, how much does it need before it has to land? Like, does it need to have 40% like a Tesla? And then you've got to charge it again?
Yeah, but see, that won't be our problem, though, because we'll call it up on the phone. We're not going to get the same drone. You're not going to own one, right?
No.
So it's going to be like a taxi, and away it goes. And the other advantage they have over current EV models with cars is that they're going to go back to some drone hub base that looks like bees flying around a hive and go in there and charge or change the battery, swap it out, whatever, and you're not even going to know. So the problem with EVs in our country is that, you know, the people who have the ability to charge them and plenty of space for solar and what have you, like us out here, then we got the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But the distances we travel aren't particularly great for the EVs, right? Yeah. Whereas the ones in the city who don't have the big distances and the EVs work for, some of those townhouse apartments and what have you have major issues with power to even get the power there. So we've got the power, but we can't necessarily use them. They can use them, but they don't have the power. And this is the problem. We're not going to have that problem on a drone taxi because you're going to call it up, it's going to nick off, charge, and away you go. So that is a good thing.
Yeah, and then my sort of viewpoint on it is infrastructure is probably going to be the biggest thing, and how long is that going to take? So there'll probably be a fluctuation in the prices, I'd assume, in the CBD area, because your service will be utilised until the infrastructure is in place in the rural areas, and then that's when the prices will go up, I would assume, out there. So it'll be like a ripple effect.
Yeah,
which I think we discussed yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, so, do you think that the going to the drones is going to increase those property values?
Which ones?
Well, I suppose the heading was, will it affect property prices?
Well, it will.
It will, no matter
It can go up and down, right?
Well, it's going to affect property prices somewhat, I suppose, but just whether it's up or down is another thing.
Well, let's say there was a cost, a substantial, like a notable cost attached to using one of those drones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the high value properties that are around the CBD, right, and say all that transport goes that way. Say you can't drive a car anymore and you've got to take these things.
Yeah.
So people are either got to do public transport or these drones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to cut costs, people are going to need to move closer to the CBD, right? And with that comes a whole bunch of different social dynamics. Whereas originally all the expensive homes are around the CBD for that, but they also will be the ones that have the money to be able to transit on a drone. And then they see that getting busier and busier around where they live, they're probably going to sell up, pack up, go over here and fly to work, because it takes them now 10 minutes instead of 10 minutes in a taxi. They can go 50 k's out and it's 10 minutes in a drone. And so I think there's a substantial change coming in that regard, because if the cost of transport increases dramatically, people need to be based in an area where they can get to work. So it's going to suck back. It's going to reverse. Like it's like before, like horse and cart and what have you, that's where cities happened, right? Then the advent of the car, it spread everything out. Now if that gets too costly and what have you, it's going to reverse again. And it could very well be the drones for the rich.
Drones for the rich.
Drones for the rich. There you go.
Your own one.
You're probably very correct there.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough future casting. And thank you for, once again, you invite me to lunch and didn't give me lunch.
We're still waiting.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Someone's got
the lunch boy just hasn't returned.
All right. If there's any questions before we go, chuck them up here. Otherwise, you can always comment later and one of the team will jump on and where we go. Here we go. Big. See, he's just jealous he's not here. Don't be jealous, Jason, because there isn't any lunch here. So Big J says drones will make lifestyle properties be more favourable, desirable, and a city fringe. Yeah. And look, 100% agree with the big fella. That's my take on it as well. And it'll be interesting to go. And all I'm going to say is drones will rock as long as they come in a V8.
And he's going to get one.
V8 or V12.
Yeah.
So he'll send his drone to pick me up and bring me to work.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. That'll be polished and shed. Yeah.
No,
all right.
He only buys 6s now, so that's fine.
Oh, we're going to go before it gets dirty and nasty here. All right, thanks, everyone. We'll probably see you next week sometime for Lunchtime Live.